story about a game. A game
Chronicles
that
of
came to give players
Illyria!
the freedom they wanted, freedom to live,
I forgot about
freedom
this.
to die. Hundreds of thousands of fans, 6 years of waiting. A game that to this day, no one ever got to see or play. The question, did Chronicles of Illyria ever really exist?
No.
The story has a beginning, a middle, but we're still in the process of writing the end. So what really happened? July 27th, 2015, Soulbound Studios plans to bring meaning back to MMO life. These are the first words to be associated with the MMORPG known as Chronicles of Illyria. The very first article covering the brand new, exciting project that promised to change everything fans of the genre had come to expect in years gone by. A game that would have you living and dying in a fantasy land where seemingly anything was possible. For many, it was literally a dream come true. So where did it all go wrong? Let's start at the beginning. April 28th, 2009, Kickstarter, a crowdfunding platform launches. September 20th, 2009, the first, or at least the first instance I could find, of a crowdfunded video game. Flywrench was a project that asked the public for $5,000 to deliver a game about flying an aerobatic ship through space. The project included
5K?
0 videos, 0 screenshots, concept art, and the backer awards were extremely limited. The public's perception to Flywrench? 29 people said, you know what, here's some money for your game. Flywrench managed to get funded by the end date of November 1st, 2009, $5,070 raised.
From 29
October
people?
10th, 2012, the Game Developers Conference, Star Citizen is announced.
Star
Perhaps the
Citizen.
most ambitious title ever presented. A multiplayer space trading and combat simulator on a scale beyond anything we'd ever seen. And by October 18th, just 8 days after the announcement of the game existing, Star Citizen had begun raising funds for the first time. This was no Flywrench with just 2 paragraphs of words from a man who wanted to make a simple 2D game. This was the most successful crowdfunding game of all time. To date, Star Citizen has raised over $350 million, and the game, no
They're all
release in
62.
sight as of
Pretty sure it's
April
500
2021.
now, right? He said
September
that.
18th, 2015, the first ever screenshot of Chronicles of Illyria would be shared on the company's Twitter timeline. At this time, the community is already beginning to grow. April 1st, 2016, the first ever gameplay footage is revealed as part of a video titled Meet the Team. The game started to receive more and more coverage as a legitimate project to be excited for. At this time, the stage was set and the man that would be performing under the lights, introducing Jeremy Caspian
My
Walsh,
man, Jeremy.
CEO and founder of Soulbound Studios. May 3rd, 2016, Soulbound Studios launches their long-awaited Kickstarter campaign. A modest goal of $900,000 US
God
to deliver on a
damn.
project that promised a dynamic and immersive MMORPG where your character ages and dies in a fully destructible world with non-repeatable quests. To this day, Chronicles of Illyria is still
sounds
a
really
relatively
ambitious. We
obscure
don't even have
project,
that
but
nowadays.
The Kickstarter campaign helped put the game in a spotlight. June 1st, 2016, just before the Kickstarter ends, Jeremy Walsh announces a new tech partnership with, at the time, relatively unknown tech startup Improbable and their product Spatial OS. Spatial OS, in Jeremy's own words, will be the server technology that will allow us to support millions of entities in the world. June 3rd, 2016, Soulbound Studios have managed to not just hit their goal, but raise just shy of $1.4 million for the project, with 10,752 people giving the company anywhere from $5 at the lowest level of contribution to $10,000 for the King or Queen package at the top level. Each package would
$10,000?
allegedly come with an array
Jesus.
of goodies to tempt in the potential backers, ranging from a wallpaper and access to the newsletter at the lowest end, and a literal kingdom to rule over in the game at the high end. For $10,000, you could own your own kingdom. And of course, you're probably wondering if anyone would pay to be a king or a queen. They did.
Damn.
4 of them. The
4
launch
people
of the
put
Kickstarter and
40K into
subsequent
this?
financial success was received mostly positively,
Damn.
though some did have questions and concerns surrounding the project. At this point in the story, everything was going according to plan. In fact, it was going better than ever expected. The studio consisted of a 16-person team which claimed to have employees working for prestigious and competitive companies such as Microsoft Game Studios, Bungie and Sony Online Entertainment, and headed up by Jeremy Caspian Walsh. They would claim at this time to have the game in players' hands within 18 months.
Did they ever put out
Sometime
gameplay for
towards
this?
the end of the Kickstarter campaign, the page would be updated with the following message. Project funding will continue on our site, chroniclesofillyria.com, after the Kickstarter ends, starting June 6th. We will offer the ability to upgrade your existing pledge, outright or through a layaway system, starting in 3 weeks when the Kickstarter pledges are integrated with COE forum accounts. When the website came up, it would feature a ticker which showed the exact dollar amount raised from the various products and perks sold on the website.
Oh.
And it would continue to tick by month after month as more fans of the genre caught wind of Chronicles of Valyria and became enamored with the idea of this unbelievable journey they would soon embark upon. At this point of the story, we have to introduce a supporting character, Exola, a common payment services company in the gaming space, mostly used by developers to handle payment, billing, and marketing tools. Soulbound Studios would use the Exola service to raise funds via the Chronicles of Valyria website post Kickstarter campaign success. Exola would serve as the middleman between customers seeking to buy pre-purchased packages and other such items from Soulbound Studios. 27th of July 2017, just 1 year after the successful funding of Chronicles of Valyria and approaching the promised delivery date of a playable experience, Caspian would post one of his usual update blogs titled State of Valyria. With this came an admission of neglect in transparency with the community that had supported the dream to this stage. The game was not progressing at the speed they had promised. The inability to attract world-class engineers to build the dream was the stated reason for the delays.
So they didn't have all the people that they were talking about?
Come with it a delayed timeline for when the backers could expect to finally get their hands on the game. To this day, updates were still frequent. There was new videos of systems in a working state, constant blog posts and interviews with the team, multiple hour-long roundtables with Caspian himself. But Alpha 1 would now be coming in the first 4 months of 2018. Skipping forward to January 12th, 2018, roughly when we would be expecting the first alpha stages of the game, 19 months after the project was successfully funded, bringing in more money than the project initially stated they would require, the game was still yet to be played by a single member of the public. At this time, the revolutionary tech solution
was there
that
even
they'd
a
announced
game?
as a partner was no longer a partner. Spatial OS being the system that they had spoken so highly of and spent the last 19 months working with as a back-end solution would be dropped from the technical stack of Chronicles of Valyria. The cost of this 19-month adventure, to this day, still unknown, but likely ate into the funds of the project considerably. And more worrying, the fact that they were already overdue on delivery, and questions would be asked by loyal backers. How could this happen so late in development? How much would this set back the plans? And most importantly, where is the game we were promised and that we paid for? Now we're going to move forward quite a lot of time here. There's a large part of the story that we're going to skip. The reality is that during this time they continued to post updates and placations to the community, but things had gone downhill drastically as the months ticked by. Funding continued to gradually increase throughout 2017 and 2018, but there was something in the air. The game was coming under considerably more and more flack due to the missed deadlines, lack of communication, and of course, an increase in worrying crowdfunding events. The cracks were already beginning to show. The official channels for communication, the Discord, the forums would become increasingly hostile, and more people were either being banned or removing themselves. The updates were less and less frequent, the features showcased were less substantial, and we had not seen almost any new gameplay footage in over 2 whole years, until one day, everything would change. September 6th, 2019. The first gameplay footage of Chronicles of Valyria seen for over 2 years, since October 30th, 2017.
What?
And it was a disaster. The first video ever from Soulbound Studios to receive a negative like to dislike ratio since the announcing of the game.
That looks so
this
bad.
would be the turning point in the story for most. Comments flooded in asking what
It
was
looks
going
like a
on.
worse
Why did the game
Valheim,
look this way?
dude.
4 years into development and so overdue. Some users even going so far as to call it a scam and telling Soulbound Studios to ready their lawyers. At this stage of the story, Chronicles of Valyria was almost 2 years over the promised delivery date and 8 times over budget for what they originally quoted as being the cost for delivering this overly ambitious title. On December 24th, 2019, as a relatively new content creator, I posted a video claiming that Chronicles of Valyria would soon cease operations as a studio and the game would subsequently be cancelled due to lack of funds. I came to this conclusion in a real simple way, from researching salaries and ground rent costs for the area Soulbound Studio chose to operate their development studio, Bellevue, Washington, a place where you would be paying top dollar for talent and office space. The ticker on the Chronicles of Valeria website by this point had slowed to a crawl, but it was a crawl to over $6 million, bringing the grand total, including Kickstarter money originally, to over $8 million. Using the information I had uncovered, I began to put the numbers together for running a game development studio in the area. I made the bold claim this studio would soon close unless they managed to raise a considerable amount of money in a very short period of time, or if they'd been hiding some private investment. 11th of March 2020, the Settlers of Valeria, the last step before Prelaria, which according to the development roadmap, was the pre-alpha the players would finally get to test the game. The game was finally in sight. One more step and pre-alpha would be in the players' hands. The Settlers of Valeria event would last for 45 days and allow the community to buy plots of land within the game world for between $65 and $1,350 each. 20th of March 2021, the post opens. Soulbound Studios has been hard at work on gameplay features and technology that will deliver Chronicles of Valeria to our backers and beyond. It's finally here. All the doubters were proven wrong. Pre-alpha was available to the backers, titled Trial of the Tested. This would turn out to be nothing more than a small obstacle course, something many developers claim to be able to put together in a matter of days or hours. The announcement post detailed the features: jumping, climbing, ziplining, and running. The post, of course, ended reminding us all that the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, was in effect. No one would be permitted to show footage of the gameplay, nor were they allowed to speak of the experience. Quote, more playable experiences are planned as we build up speed with our test cohort. Stay tuned for more exciting things throughout 2020. Was this finally the progress people had been waiting for? Was this signs of good things to come? March 25th, 2020, 1,703 days, or 55 months and 27 days, since we learned of the existence of Soulbound Studios and their game Chronicles of Valeria. Just 14 days after asking for money from the backers again, only closing down the sales a few hours before making this post, Chronicles of Valeria was headed into the abyss. Buried in this post was the bombshell for the remaining true believers. The game was no longer being developed. The post claimed that CEO Jeremy Caspian-Walsh had been forced to terminate all employees of the studio, and the project was now entering the abyss. The post had been ambiguous in that it didn't outright claim the game was fully cancelled. However, the CEO's Twitter account confirmed the studio would be shuttering. Almost everyone believed this to be the end of Chronicles of Valeria. The post also claimed that the development team, who had all been laid off during the pandemic, would be willing to work on the game in their spare time, perhaps to deliver a different game, taking features promised for Alpha 2 phases and giving the Kingdoms of Valeria to the backers instead. This news sent the community into a frenzy. The forums, the Discord, the Twitter account, the YouTube videos all came under fire from angry backers of the project. Despite vowing to leave open the Discord and forums to the community to preserve the history, at this stage Soulbound Studios, which was basically just Jeremy Caspian-Walsh alone, closed all forms of communication with the public. As this was happening, a new player was approaching. A Discord appeared, titled Class Action for COE, a Discord dedicated to one thing: to get restitution for the community that had funded this project to completion and been delivered nothing. April 9th, 2020, a letter from Jeremy to the public, correcting a misunderstanding. Are they actually going to sue him? It was never his intention to end the development of the game. They would still be working on Chronicles of Valeria. Many would question, with what money? Who is they? And perhaps more importantly, was the game ever real? April 28, 2020, a list of questions had been put together by the Washington State Attorney General's office and shortly after appeared on the Chronicles of Valeria website in the form of an FAQ, said to be updating backers on what to expect, where the money had been spent, and what the future would hold. Development would continue. Chronicles of Valeria would be delivered as advertised to backers. And then, silence. Outside of a small blog post on June 26th, nothing was happening. The blog post raised more questions than answered, talking about transparency, restoring the forums in a read-only state, and the assuring of backers that the parkour demo was just a demo and not a replacement for the game they had promised. A game nobody had seen. 17th of August 2020, movement in the class action lawsuit Discord. Some backers had hired lawyers and the ball had started to roll. But the surprise here, Soulbound Studios would not be alone. there was an additional target in the crosshairs. Exola, our supporting character from earlier, the letter to both companies alleged the use of unlawful, unfair, and fraudulent practices to raise money for a product they knew they could not deliver. The letter demanded refunds be issued to all those who would request, and we wouldn't have to wait long for the next development. Both companies would respond, or at least their legal teams would. The letters are dense in legalese, but both of them are uniform in their reply. Our clients did no wrongdoings. Our clients will not comply with your demands, and so they were at an impasse, neither side willing to budge. The only solution? Settle it in court, a costly and time-consuming undertaking. 3rd of February 2021, legal papers are filed with a district court. Everything was now in motion. All that was left to do was wait. Around the middle of December 2020, Chronicles of Valyria started seeing regular news post updates, usually twice per month, with videos of CEO Jeremy Caspian Walsh explaining the game's situation. Videos that mostly raised more questions than they answered, and provided no additional insight as to the true state of the game. Almost all remaining believers in the project had abandoned them. They dare not even enable comments on their video blog updates, not even the like and dislike buttons were enabled. Until today, the 1st of April 2021, when I'm recording this video, not a single soul outside of Soulbound Studios has played Chronicles of Valyria or could attest to the authenticity of the project.
What is
no
that?
one ever played this game. The recent communication
not
out of
even
the
the
studio
same
focuses
game.
almost entirely on the game they're calling Kingdoms of Valyria, and many would be waiting patiently for the legal proceedings for clarity. The prevailing sentiment being that if Jeremy wouldn't share with us the real situation, perhaps they could force him to in court. This is the Chronicles of Valyria until today, a story that is by no means finished, but one that is spanning so many years without a single comprehensive overview. I hope that you enjoyed this video, as it took an incredibly long time to make and edit, something I've never done before. I've never made a video like this. If it's something you enjoyed and would like to see again, please share the video around, leave me a comment, hit the thumbs up. All of this truly helps a great deal in getting the video working in the algorithm. Check out my socials in the video description: Discord, Twitch, Patreon, and as always, stay safe out there. We out. Peace.
Jesus. Yeah, that is tough. Chronicles of Valyria, huh? Is there any new development on this? Chronicles of Valyria? It doesn't look like it. Wow.